Vent Don't Lie. It's a 15-minute show. Dayne Young, Brent Rollins talking about the most important things that we see on the DawgVent at UGAsports.com. First topic today, Brent, Gunner Stockton. You made an interesting comparison. And as we approach spring football, a lot of people on the Vent talking about Stockton and his development.
Yeah, it's the comparison, like, because when you look at it statistically, and I was for the other show I do with Pollock, we were talking about Utah, and I started looking down his stats. I'm like, wow, that looks familiar. And then I totaled it up. Him and Devin Dampier at Utah, 24 touchdowns throwing, 5 picks. Both had 10 touchdowns rushing, almost exact in terms of total yardage. So it was an interesting comparison looking forward. But one of the things I've been doing and potentially writing about this weekend is I'm going back and looking at every drop back and just trying to categorize a bunch of different things they're looking at. And it's like, okay, where does he need to improve the most? So just from hey, I haven't rewatched the season yet, Dayne's perspective, what is the areas that you think he needs to improve the most? Because I've got 3.
I think most people are going to tell you it's going to be downfield accuracy, so Georgia can be more explosive as a passing offense. I suspect you could probably say pocket presence in the sense that early in the season, the offensive line made it where he had to run around a ton. And later in the season, maybe because of that, Gunner Stockton wasn't quite as comfortable in the pocket. That'd be the first 2 I'd roll with.
Yeah, I agree. And my 3 were this: footwork. The more I've watched him, and if you go rewatch a lot of games, he's bouncing on his toes a bunch in the pocket. And for him, the way he throws, he's got to sit back down, then stride after the decision to throw. So footwork and marrying that. 2 is anticipation. I mean, you saw the clip. If you haven't seen the clip on social media, the Seahawks defender talking about how, he's just a young QB. He's confirming that the guy is open before he's making the throw. And then he got a pick later in the game. Like, that's Drake May, who, is in the Super Bowl and is still sort of working on anticipation. But the last one, Gunner needs some DGAF. He needs some don't give a bleep. And the ultimate that's what Stetson had. In the end, he just had that, I don't care, I'm trying to make this throw. I don't care, I'm trying to make this play. Story that was told to me, after the championship season, off-season workouts, spring break. Hey, I had to send a video to coach that you're working out. Stetson was on a boat with, a lot of people and having fun. And he reached up and did some pull-ups on a boat. And obviously there were other people. There were, he was an adult having fun. That was his workout video because he didn't give a bleep. That's what he needs to improve.
Not in the same way, but I was told, and I don't know the true. I'm pretty sure that this happened at least a time or 2. And I know we're bleeding into the next topic, but this is good. Georgia wins the national championship with Stetson Bennett. They come back the next spring. We all saw what Stetson looked like on Good Morning America after the national championship. My understanding is that as you flip the page into the following season, Stetson wasn't always around, in the sense that there was a team run that people had to run more because QB1 did not arrive when he needed to arrive. And then there was
he definitely beat to his own drum. That's for sure.
But the thing about Stetson is, for whatever things about and he wasn't like a headache in the sense of like hard to manage, I don't think. No. But when the lights turned on, he performed, and he performed better and better and better each time. And coaches give you a little bit more leash when you do that.
Yep, very true.
As players that go into the NFL will soon find out that you're only as good as your last rep in that league, for sure. And I've been looking at some of the mock drafts, Brent. ESPN had a latest one yesterday that really caught my attention, because we've been talking about which of these Georgia guys could sneak their way into the first round. And that particular mock had Monroe Freeling at 16 overall. And I actually asked Coach Donnan yesterday, I was like, does this surprise you to see him that high? He said, no, he's going to grade out really well. Like, NFL scouts are going to love his NFL profile.
It's the movement skills. And it was one where I even look back. I wrote a Film Don't Lie sort of evaluation of him individually. And it's like, hey, if he improves his consistency as a pass blocker, he's a top 40 first round type pick. And he is, because the athletic traits are there. The movement skills are there. We highlighted a lot of that in Film Don't Lie, where it's like, okay, he should have been on his face on this play, but he's gathered himself and then made a block downfield. I actually do think he's the only one that ends up in the first round.
Wow.
Just the gap to me for tackle, like, hey, I can get this tackle versus maybe get a CJ Allen at pick 45 or a pick, something like that. But yeah, I think he actually ends up being the only first round pick, which, interestingly enough, they've had multiple first round picks ever since Kirby's second season, all but 2 years. So like 6 out of the last or 5 out of the last 7, 6 out of the last 8, something like that. They've had multiple first round picks. I think they only end up with one this year.
You're thinking CJ Allen, Zachariah Branch, probably second round, somewhere in there.
Christian Miller. I think those 3 guys are second round guys, and then maybe Colby, Oscar Delp, Everett are day 3 guys.
You think Thorson gets drafted?
It's an interesting question. I don't know. Because the punter for the Seahawks was big time, and I could maybe it would be a 6th, 7th round pick at best. Obviously,
we saw it with Matt Araiza. He did get drafted before all of his reputation stuff off the field, and that ended up working out. He's a great punter. I was just curious about that because I always think when you come to specialists, no one's doing what the Raiders once did in drafting Sebastian Janikowski in the first round, which actually, in retrospect, pretty darn good pick.
He did okay. He couldn't make the 70-something yarder or whatever that Kiffin had him try that one time.
Well, the new kickers can do that now. Flipping over to Georgia basketball here, and tough game for the Bulldogs against Florida, which I just think is the worst matchup in the SEC for them. I don't think they can match up with Florida's size, and if Florida's shooting even remotely well, Georgia just gets behind the 8 ball very quickly. Your thoughts on that game where Georgia basketball is going this year?
There was points of that game where it was like, this is the varsity versus the JV, unfortunately. But Florida's a national championship level team. They're finding themselves early, new guard, and that sort of thing. They shot it well. They haven't shot it well going into the game, and they shot it well in that game. And when they do that, it's over. There's a ceiling with this team. It's quite clear. Like you didn't have Wilkinson, that was big, but there's certain things that throughout the season that get a little frustrating in terms of, are you getting better? Are things that, hey, this has happened earlier in the year, it's not happening now. I don't see that as much consistently. I'm semi in the realm of getting tired of watching Surreal play. I always have been sort of love it. Like, the talent is immensely there, but dude, every time you get whacked in the face, it's not like life threatening. Please relax. Like, just play, keep moving, get off the ground. Like, just all that stuff is frustrating to me. So, what was it? The Dawgvent Llama had a great question on the vent. Is it possible to be a national championship level team in both football and basketball now in the NIL era? Because like Georgia looks right now to be a team that's a 20 to 21 win team. Schedule is not necessarily difficult other than conference, and you're maybe a 9, 10, 11 type seed in the tournament consistently. Is that good enough? I don't know.
I think it's absolutely possible because I've seen Alabama do it recently. You could ask the same question of, like, Florida's so good in basketball, can they ever get back in football and consistently be where Florida used to be in football as well? They're on the opposite end. And I think if you ask Georgia fans, they'd much rather take the deal that Georgia has right now, where football is constantly competitive and basketball weaves in and out, rather than the situation that Florida has. It's difficult, but enough teams do it and have done it that I think it can be possible. And in NIL, look, the SEC squandered this year. As a whole, the SEC is down from what we've seen the last 3 years, and it's because the best players in the country are at Arizona and Kansas and BYU and Duke.
Other places.
There are other places that they just did more with NIL to get them there. So the solution to this problem is to get better players. And how do you get better players? You have to pay more money.
It's the unfortunate nature of the beast right now, that's for sure.
The unfortunate nature of the beast for the Atlanta Braves. And this, when Roddy puts a "what are we hearing" thread about Georgia, like, it just sends all kinds of feelings through the DawgVent. Like, some of them, it ends up being like, I think people view it with anxiety because it's usually not
always
great news.
Yes.
Sometimes it's just, here's a name you need to watch for a hire.
For the coach.
Right.
For the new OLB coach.
So WCU 1113 posted a thread about what we're hearing with Spencer Swellenbach. And man, does this just not feel like the Braves every February of, all right, here's our 3 pitchers that are instantly on the 60-day IL.
I mean, Strider went down game 3 or after his second start, whatever it was last year. Ronaldo Lopez gone quick. I mean, Sale missed some time. Like the days of, hey, I got Smoltz, Glavin, Maddox, all that, and they're going to start, all start 30 games with people. Like that's just, it doesn't exist anymore. But at least you would think you would get to the beginning of the season healthy. It's very depressing because I thoroughly enjoy. Now I will say I have no idea where I'm going to watch the Braves. I don't think anybody else does right now either. But I usually enjoy watching
their own streaming service. If they were smart to me, they would just do it straight up their YouTube and say we'll figure out the money part later. But
yeah, and because that to me is like the perfect ADD stuff in the summertime. It's like, okay, second and third, I can watch this now. Yeah. Acuna's batting. All right, I'm going to watch now. But who knows? It's a frustrating thing. It's one of those things where as a fan, you're like, okay, did winning the championship in 2021 just kind of throw a 5-year bad karma hex on the team because of all the good karma that came from that? I don't know. It's frustrating though. That's for sure.
I mean, you can't have enough pitching, but it just reminds me that it's a different game than what I grew up watching. And that's even mainly in the 90s that I'm talking about, where you would have guys that could throw 92 and just, pinpoint accuracy. I mean, Greg Maddux would struggle to even get an opportunity to play in this kind of baseball where you have to hit triple digits.
And we get Bryce Elder in our life again for a lot of time. And you're basically describing Bryce Elder in a way. And the game is so evolved. Like high school kids, we here at North Oconee, we've got 5-6 kids that throw 90, or have touched 90. A couple that do it consistently. Like it's a different world, that's for sure.
And I wonder, because basketball is kind of running through the same thing right now too. We're there's so many injuries in professional basketball right now that they're having to question: is the season too long? Is this such a game that why are we having 25-year-olds pop their Achilles at an alarmingly high rate that feels like the game almost needs to protect itself from itself? And I think basketball can do that way easier than baseball. You can do stuff with the 3-point line. You can shorten the season a little bit. Baseball really don't know what you do. You can't tell pitchers to not throw as hard. That's not possible.
And especially with the way what it's done to bat hitting and all the things with it. Yeah, can't do it.
Finally,
fun stuff to end. Let's go.
Hunting Dog on the vent, and I thought this was sweet. So it got some cool comments in there. Hunting Dog, first of all, refers to his daughter as the traitor because now she goes to Georgia Tech, which straight up DawgVent lore right there.
True vent.
Go just tried to do a little crowdsourcing. That's one of my favorite things about the vent. Something you don't know as much about. You're trying to get more information from people that do know about it. And Hunting Dogs is very ignorant on the details of how Uber and Lyft and Waymo work. I'm just trying to find a way that is the safest scenario for my daughter to get to and from where she's living and to campus certain times a day. Certain times she can walk, great, but other times, whatever.
Yeah.
And so it just turned to this discussion about people's experiences with Rideshare. And I texted you this story, but I'll tell it to our audience. So my wife, this was right after she was pregnant with our first child. I mean, so we're talking first trimester situation here. She's not
first pregnancy, first trimester.
We already had Braves tickets. Her brother and cousin came up, and we had parked at the mall that's near Truist. And then I think we did a Rideshare over, or maybe we walked. I forget exactly how we got there, but our thought was we're going to take an Uber from the Rideshare side and just get back over to the mall. Then we'll ride out from there. The traffic patterns, this is pretty early on at Truist, were so brutal that the cars could not get where they needed to, and the Uber drivers would just cancel on us. So we're standing out there for 45 minutes just waiting for this. So we're all right, we got to bail on this, and we got to walk. And the only path that was open to walk at that point, we ended up having to walk on the I think it was the entry lane to get onto 285 and then somehow cross over. So I'm sitting there with my pregnant wife walking on 285. It's such a brute and young marriage. I'm sitting there geez.
Hey, you survived it. You survived it. That's what matters the most. The only thing with me with Rideshare, I've never really had truly a bad experience. I just get made fun of by my family for trying to talk to the driver and make it instead of a silent conversation ride. Sometimes I try to be silent, but I'm most of the time I want to talk.
I've never done a Waymo.
About their story. Huh? No, never done Waymo.
Would you do a Waymo?
Yes, would do a Waymo. Sure, why not?
Yeah, I would do it too. And it's because I will end on this. I went skydiving once, and someone told me the most dangerous thing you did that day was driving to the skydiving place, statistically. So the data does not lie there, and the vent does not lie here. Thanks for watching, everybody.